Assalamu alaikum dear students, welcome to my channel. And today we'll be talking about one very important topic of computer science 9618 paper 2, and that topic is files and file handling. In this topic we are going to discuss, and I will be explaining the basic fundamental concepts of the files, and we'll also be looking at some pseudocodes that which we will use to handle text file for various lines, one or more lines. So let's start. Okay. In order to understand the file handling, why we need a file handling, what is the basic purpose of the file handling? For this you need to just understand few things. When we are writing a program and when we are working with a program, all of our storages, they are placed in the memory. So memory is the place where these storages, like the variables, for example A, B, and even the arrays, the data in these storages, they are kept in the memory temporarily. You all know this thing very clearly. So when we are running a program and when we are entering the data into these storages, the default source or the default hardware through which the data is coming into these storages is keyboard. So we are entering the data through the keyboard. So this is the default input to the memory. And when the data is processed, like A and B is summed, and we store it here, let's say A plus B, and this data we enter here, like this is 4, this is 5 and 9. Now once the data is processed into the memory, the default output is the monitor. So the data after processing is going out on the monitor, and we call it as output. So this is the basic thing you all need to understand and you all need to remember. So the default input is the keyboard, and the default output is the monitor, and the data is kept into the memory in the RAM, and this data will remain in the memory until and unless the program is loaded. And the moment the program is closed, the data from the memory, like the 4, 5 and 9 and the data which we will store in the array list, the moment we close this program, the data will be washed out. And for example, the next day when you will again load this program, then again you have to bring the data into these storages from the default input, that is the keyboard. and if the data is processed, then again you have to show it on the default output. And this is a problem when we are not using the concept of file handling. So the solution to this problem is the file handling. And now how the file handling works, we take the support of the storages. Like the hard disk drive. Once the program, the loaded program does the job and you want to close it, what we will do, we will store the data from the memory into the storage, and in the storage what we will have files. So file, this is the main thing, this is the key thing that we will use. This is where the concept of file comes. So the data of the variables, the data of the arrays, before we close the program, they will be sent to the file, and writing the data to the file into the storages is called, we call it write. So here the concept of writing means storing the data in the file. Okay, and now once the data is stored in the file, now the next day you again want to bring back the data into the variables and especially into the arrays, then again what we will do, the data will be brought back from the file, from the storage back into the memory, and this is called read. This is called read. Now you can see the data is taken from the hard disk and the data is taken back to the hard disk. So either we are writing to the file or we are reading from the file. In place of reading the data from the keyboard, we are reading from the hard disk, we are reading from the file. And in place of outputting data on the monitor, we are outputting the data, rather we are writing the data to the file. Now the files, the concept of file is important over here. Now you learn that the files are used to store the data. Files are kept in the storages, which are actually the hard disk drive. So these files are serial sequential file, or these files are random files. So in the AS, you people are considering the sequential file or the serial sequential file. This is the AS content, and the random file you will learn in A2 or A level. It's in the A2 in your paper 3. Okay, and when we talk about the files, the serial and sequential file, we are talking about the specifically the medium, tape medium. We are talking about tape medium. Okay, and when we are talking about the random file, we are talking about the disk medium. Now as our discussion is on the tape medium, which is the serial sequential, so the files we are considering is serial sequential file. You know the serial files, these are the file in which the data is stored in the data is stored as the data held. So there is a chronology is followed, means the time and the date when the data will be held, it will be stored, it will be placed into the file. But in the sequential we have an ordered, it is an ordered data in which we follow an order based on the field. It can be ascending, it can be descending. So the files we are studying in AS, usually these files are the serial sequential, and there are few things related to the serial sequential files, and in which you know the data is stored, like as we said that the data is stored on the tape medium, and you know the tape medium is like this, somewhat like this, and the data is like record 1, record 2, record 3, record 4. So we have record 1, 2, let's say 3, 5, 7. So there are records coming one after the another, and in order to read the record 5, the only way to go is that from record 1 to record 2, from record 2 to record 3, and then you can reach here. So there is a forward movement, and if you want to come back to the record 1, the only way you can come back is by going through each record, and then you can reach here. There is no way to go directly to each record. So the other very important point here is that it has a sequential access. So in the file, the data, they are accessed sequentially, one after the another. So we have the concept of forward, and we have the concept of rewind, forward backward movement. The data can only be added after R7. R8 will come after R7. Okay, that is called append. Here we add the data, insert the data in an order, and the data is added, always added in the end of record. Okay, what will happen if we want to add, let's say, R4 over here? If you want to add R4, so it can only come between R3 and R5, and but for that we have to cut the tape from R3, and we need to put R4 over here, and then we have to again join R5 after that. So it's a very complicated program. So we are not going into that detail. You only need to understand that the files that we are using, it is a sequential file, and the exemplary file we are using is the text file. So one more thing is that the files which are text file, they are usually in string form. Yes, you can also have the data in the text file, we can also have the integer data, but in most of the cases in your AS programs, you will find the data as in the text file, the data in the string form. So that is why you will be using various built-in functions, related to the strings. Okay, and now coming to the so I hope the concept is clear, that in the file handling, how we are working with the file, the reason of using the files, and these files, they are stored in the hard disk drive, so it is permanent storage, so the data can be reused. So the purpose is that we can reuse the file, reuse the data kept or entered, and then the data, they are stored simply in the text files. Okay, the next thing is, while working with the files, there are three very important, there are three things that you need to perform in order. Number one, we open the file. Number two, we work with the stuff, and number three, we close the file. These are three steps that we always followed whenever we are working with the files. First thing is that we must open the file. Opening the file means either we are bringing the file from storage to memory. Storage means hard disk drive, to memory means RAM. We are opening it, or we are opening the file to put the data from memory to the storage. We are putting the data from RAM to the hard disk drive. So we are telling that when we open a file, we will tell that are we opening the file to put the data from storage and to bring the data from storage into the memory, or we are opening the file to send the data from the memory to the storage. So open file means defining these things. And second is working with the stuff. So when the file is opened, like the file is opened by either bringing the data from storage into the memory, or the file is opened to so that the data can be brought from the memory into the storage. The next thing is to do the stuff with it. So we need to work with the stuff. Means if the file is open to read, start reading each line of the file. And if the file is open to write, start writing the lines one by one after the another into the file. So we have various things here, and this working will be based on the way we have opened the file. Okay, so when we open the file, either to read or to write or to append. Reading is when we are bringing the file from storage into the memory. This is reading. And writing is when we are putting the data from memory into the storage. This is writing. Okay, so this is reading and this is writing. And then there is a difference between read and write. Write and append. What does the write do? Write creates a file if it doesn't exist, and write data into it. Right? Creates the file. And if the file already exists, this is very important thing. and if file already exists, what it will do, it will override the data. This is what the write does, and what the append solve this issue. If the file already exists, append, this is what the write does. Append add data in the end of file means it will not delete the existing data. Okay, so we open the file either in read or to write or to append. So we work with the file, and the third thing is that we must close the file that we have opened. We must close it. Okay, so this is the explanation, this is the elaboration of the concept of the file handling. I hope you people have got the basic understanding of how the file works, and in my next video I will be showing you the questions from the past paper. And okay, that's all for this video. Thanks a lot. Allah Hafiz.